account and to pay your bill. Their customer service representatives look forward to helping you. That's yourscvwater.com. Hey there, it's Tori with your hometown station weather. A mix of sun and clouds today through Sunday, with highs in the upper 50s to low 60s. Don't miss it. A very Merry Christmas with the Letterman, special guest Savannah Burrows, and the West Ranch High School Choir. Sunday, December 9th, 5 p.m. at the PAC at COC. For more information, go to our Facebook page at KHTS Radio.
Your hometown station.
And welcome to the Alex Urbina radio show. Today we're live in the KHTS studio in downtown Newhall, California. And I'm hanging out with my lovely co-host, Ellen Tunick. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely.
This is a show all about life coaching and how to create maximum value for yourself from a life coach or from the simple willingness to be open to all possibilities. Today we're doing a series called Helping You Reach Your Full Potential. And we're going to get into, I'm going to invite you into a two-way conversation between Ellen and I about a topic that we're going to talk about. What's the topic you want to talk about today?
We are talking about how to improve your relationships.
I love this one. So what's the question regarding how to improve your relationship?
One question or like a million questions?
Well, I think once we get in the first question, it's going to open up some other layers and open up more questions.
So the first question I would have is, first, relationships are different with partners, spouses, kids, grandkids, or is improving your relationship the same process for all?
I think it's the same process for all. It's first understanding what relationships are.
Uh-huh.
So since you said that, do you know what relationships are and what the purpose is?
Well, the purpose of a relationship for me is to find out who I am. It's if I'm in a relationship with someone, oftentimes the response I get back from that person gives me ideas and hints into me and who I am. So, but the other thing is relationships for me should be fun. And relationships should be loving and kind. But for me, they're just different with everybody. I have very different relationships with people in my life. So I'm trying to find what is the constant in all of that.
So I love that you said that relationship is an opportunity for you to know yourself, because that's what relationships are. That's the purpose of them, is to know ourselves. And the reason why is because you can't know yourself in a vacuum. If there's no one else around, you wouldn't know how to figure out who you are, because there's nothing to be in relationship to. You can't relate to anything. So if you're by yourself, like if you were stranded in a deserted island, you would probably lose your mind because you wouldn't have a way to know yourself. So relationship is there for us to know ourselves as a giver, as a lover, as a kind, compassionate person, as a forgiver. You know, we have people in our lives to be able to see it as an opportunity to know myself. But also on that same coin, on the other side, there's the opportunity to know the parts of us that we don't like the fearful part of us, the angry part of us, right? So there's opportunities there for you to figure out who you are.
Well, it's interesting because like with a spouse, hopefully with your spouse, you are who you are. You're as authentic as you possibly can be. So my beautiful spouse, he gets all sides. He gets the happy me, the sad me, the angry, nasty me. He gets all those. But my other people in my life who I have relationships with, they don't get all that, I don't think. I tend to be more conscious, perhaps, of being like nice and kind. and I don't feel the pressure to be nice and kind with my husband because he loves me no matter what.
So it sounds like what you're telling me is that you reserve yourself to be a certain way with certain people.
Yes.
And then with your husband, you give yourself permission to just be whoever you choose to be in each moment.
Yeah. Even if it's ugly sometimes. We were talking about this before I left to do the show today, and it was really interesting because I said, if you were sitting in front of a life coach and you wanted to create a higher level relationship, what question would you have? And he said, well, most people in relationships go to that what's in it for me point. And I don't do that. I mean, that kind of startled me because that's not where I come from. But it was like, I asked him, I said, is this where you're coming from? And he said, no, not necessarily. And I said, well, you said it. So perhaps without you knowing, that's kind of where it comes from. So are most people in relationships for what they get?
Yes. And the reason why is because most of us as human beings on the planet are unconscious. We're unaware. So when we're born unaware with the potential to wake ourselves up and be conscious and be aware. But until we have that wake-up call, we just continue to live our lives unconsciously on this journey with an infinite amount of numbers of possibilities for us to wake ourselves up. But some of us, while we're unconscious, fall in love with each other, and we start engaging in relationships. So we go into relationships unconscious, and when you're unconscious, you think a relationship is there for you to take from it because there are certain things that I need. I need to be loved. I need people to validate me. I need for someone else to make me feel good about myself. So then we choose unconsciously another partner to give us those things that we don't have or can't give ourselves. It's not until you wake up and become conscious and aware and you start to love yourself more and develop and grow that you no longer need that from anyone else. And so this is a distinction between unconscious relationships and conscious relationships versus unhealthy relationships versus healthy relationships.
So how, in a relationship, how do you get both people on the same page?
Well, it takes one of you to wake up,
right?
And then that person has to start working on themselves and developing all the things that they want in their partner. They have to start developing it within themselves first. And as you're developing it within yourself, then you no longer need it from your partner. And it frees you up to be able to be in that relationship without needing something from them. It's not codependent anymore. So now when you're freed up from not needing something from him or her, you can now give to the relationship. But while you're doing that, hopefully you're enrolling your partner into also developing themselves so that they're not needy of you all the time. Because what will happen is now you've outgrown the need to need anything from them, but now they're dependent on you because you're just giving that to them what they need themselves.
It's really, it's very challenging for me to understand that I don't need anything from him.
Yeah, because you haven't got to that state
Yeah,
yet.
I'm definitely not there yet. I'm still at the point where I need him to listen.
Absolutely.
And I need him to remember.
Absolutely. And that's normal. It's a normal state. But that's part of the unconscious starting to wake up to even be open to the possibility that maybe someday I can get to the point where I don't need that. And we're just talking about need, not want. There's a distinction between I don't need it, but I
sure would like it.
I sure appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a different distinction.
Okay.
I don't need your love. I don't need you to validate me because I love myself and I validate myself already.
But it sure would be nice.
I really appreciate when you do validate me, when you do love me, and you are kind to me. So it's just a different distinction. You don't understand what need is. Need is like a drug. Need is like an addiction. Need is like, if I don't get this, I'm
not going to be okay.
I'm not going to be okay, and I'm probably going to go find it somewhere else.
No, I'm not there.
No, but but that's what I'm just telling you. There's different levels to need. Need is, I need this,
and I need it now.
Yeah, and some of us, if we need it and we're depleted from it, and my partner's not giving it to me year after year after year, yeah, of course. However, but that's the unconscious, unhealthy way of relationship, and we all start off like that, including me. We all start off engaged in relationships, unconscious, unaware. But as we evolve and we start to grow and we start to heal ourselves and we start to fall in love with ourselves and develop, you can actually get to a point where you stop needing that from people outside of you. In fact, you come to the conclusion that I actually never can get it from anybody outside of me. It's always really from within myself.
Okay, so the one thing that we talk a lot about is what I guess what I would like and would appreciate is there a difference between hearing and listening?
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
Well, you tell me why you asked the question.
I asked the question because I feel that there are certain things that when I say them, even if I tee them up or whatever, that I believe they're important, and when I ask about it or ask him to recall it or whatever, it's like he can't remember, he never heard it. It keeps going back to this feeling for me of you didn't care enough to hold that information, and I feel invisible.
And it's unfair to tell somebody that you feel like they don't care about you because they're not listening.
But I think a lot of us feel that
absolutely,
way.
and I agree that there are a lot of people that feel like that. But let me paint a picture for the person that doesn't listen well or doesn't hear. Most of us, when we're unconscious and we're not present, we're not really listening to the person, or we can't hear you. So when you're talking, we're going, and it's going in, but it's not landing. Now, if I'm really present in the moment and I'm aware and I'm coming from a place of listening and loving and I'm compassionate for you and I'm in that moment because I want to know what you are sharing with me, whatever you're saying, it's coming in and it's landing. It's finding a spot somewhere, either in my heart or, I'm holding on to that information. The same way that when, let's say women say, I would really like something like that. And the guy who's really attentive and present and aware is listening and goes, oh, mental note, I'm getting that for her birthday. Or you're sharing something that you're frustrated about and it's really important to you. When you're present and when you're aware, when you're in the moment and you're conscious, you stop and go, oh, this is important to her. I need to remember this because I want to be able to help her at some point.
But isn't that a level of caring?
It is, but that doesn't mean that the people don't care about you. They just haven't developed themselves interpersonally to be able to have those tools to retain that information and to show up to you in the relationship like that.
Okay, I get that distinction.
Yeah, they can be caring and loving and want the world for you, and they can give up their life for you because they love you that much.
Right.
Doesn't mean that they have the tools or developed or been conscious or present enough to be able to listen to every word that you're saying and really hold on to it and let it land.
Yeah. It's
but most of us go to, you're not listening because you don't care about me, and it's not necessarily true.
Not necessarily. Okay,
yeah.
That is something I have to really, really practice. Is that because obviously I know he cares deeply, but I think a lot of it is not being present, not letting it land. Looks like he's listening. He's got all the motions going on, but it's not landing. It's not being held. So that would definitely elevate anybody's relationship, is to literally understand the hearing and the listening and the being present, and making it, having it land, so that they don't have to ask somebody, what would your mother like for Christmas? They would know.
And it takes practice.
Yeah.
And it would take someone like you to actually put a little more effort into making sure that that face that he gives you and that whole body posture, and he's looking at you like he's hanging on to every word. You already know now that that's a facade that the ego puts on. But a guy's mind sometimes is got 5 or 6 other things going on, or not even a guy's mind, but an entrepreneur or a homemaker or a wife that has a lot of to-do
right,
lists.
The to-do list in your head.
Yeah, so that's not being present.
Right.
Being present is shutting down all of that mechanisms and being right here, right now with you. And so you just have to just put a little more effort on the front end and go, hey, I need you to really hear me. Can you pause everything and just give me your undivided attention? And a lot of us don't do that. We don't sit down and ask people to give it to us. We assume that they should already.
That if we show up and we're going to talk, that it automatically happens.
That's right. That's right.
Well, and, timing is everything, too. If somebody is engrossed in something, it's not the time to come and say, okay, stop everything you're doing and listen to me now, because this is really important. I think timing has a lot to do with having somebody really receive the information you're trying to relay to them.
But it also depends, because your kids don't know timing.
We can teach them timing.
No, but what I mean is when they want to come and share with you.
Yes, and then you do stop everything and you say, I'm here.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Your kids, they don't know what timing is. They just, when they're up against something or they're afraid of something and they want to come and get dad's advice or mom's advice, and you're worried about bills or you're locked in on something on the computer, and they go, hey, Dad, and you go, not right now. Or give me a minute.
That just hurts my heart when you say it.
I know. Or give me a minute or whatever it is. So that's where you got to be really hyper aware and really conscious to be present in those moments, so that when little Johnny comes in or little Susie comes in, you pause what you're doing, you spin your whole chair around, you give them open body, posture, and you're looking at them in the eye going, what's the matter, honey? What can I help you with? So, but that takes a very conscious practice and intent to be in your relationships like that. Before we go on a break, I want to give a little golden nuggets on how to improve your relationship. So as I go over these, I want you to think of some, and then when we come back from the break, you can toss some questions back at me. So number one is, you have to be willing to improve your relationship all by yourself without getting resentful or disappointed that the other person is not willing or committed. If you think that because you want to improve the relationship and you think that the other person said that they do, or they hinted that they want to, you have to be willing to do it all by yourself. Number two is, you got to be willing to learn, discover, and grow interpersonally. Just because you want a better relationship doesn't mean it's going to just fall out of the sky. You have to be willing to discover, learn, and grow something about yourself so that you can change some of those things. And the next one is that you have to be willing to make a commitment to make some of those changes within yourself. Not try to change the other person, but try to start off with, okay, if it's to be, it's up to me. And then you get to create a purposeful intention with a timeline. Like, I'm going to give myself 6 months to really focus on making those interpersonal changes so that my relationship improves. Or I'm going to commit to 1 year of just changing who I am in this relationship so that I improve the relationship. And then the next one is, you got to practice being the responsible version of everything about the relationship. So you can't be the victim and you can't keep blaming them. You got to learn how to phrase things up from, hey, honey, my feelings were hurt when you said this. I know that wasn't your intention, but that's how I heard it. So you got to learn how to reframe it from the responsible version, that you heard something that hurt your feelings. What most of us do is we just go right to, you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Right? We're just we live in the assumption that people do things on purpose, and we're
Sure.
really quick to be the victim, that you did this to me,
The how dare
and
you.
I want to blame you.
Yeah.
Rather than, honey, I know that you probably didn't mean this, but my feelings were hurt. So I'm taking responsibility
For my
for
feelings.
what you hear, everything. You got to learn how to do that, because you're not going to improve your relationship being the victim and blaming. You're both going to just keep chopping it down until it's nothing. The next thing is you got to practice being more present and in the moment, and noticing your own thoughts, your own limiting beliefs. Notice how those thoughts and those limiting beliefs get in the way of your growth and you getting to access more of your full potential. And then the last one is you got to practice overcoming your own negative self-talk. I don't know how many times I point out to people that have negative self-talk that comes outwards. I can imagine how much negative self-talk is going on behind the scenes, because stuff falls out and you can hear it when it comes out. And my job as a coach is to catch those, point it out to people, and then ask them or invite them to shift it. But can you imagine how much negative self-talk is going on inside? You also got to practice overcoming some of your own fears, your own doubts, your own insecurities, and the stories that you make up that aren't real about what's going on, just because you think that's what's happening in your relationships. And with that being said,
those stories.
Yeah, exactly. And with that being said, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina Radio Show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Cruz, and my wife and I own the local pub and grill. With 19 70-inch TVs, it's the best place in the valley to catch a game. We have a vast selection of beer, wine, and specialty cocktails to choose from, including our charity ale, where 10% of every pint we sell goes to Carousel Ranch. Our menu features classics with a flavorful twist. Come by for Taco Trivia Tuesdays at 7, Wines Day for bingo and karaoke starting at 8 p.m., and karaoke every Saturday at 9. Local Pub and Grill, right next to Bevmo on the Old Road. Support local, support community.
It's time to plan our company party. Tables, chairs, lights, and a dance floor. So much to coordinate.
AV Party Rentals has everything you need for your company party. Visit their large and beautiful showroom in Newhall and discover how AV Party Rentals can create that extra accent for your company party. No worrying, no stress during setup, because their delivery staff is friendly, efficient, and willing to go that extra step to make things easier. On Newhall Avenue and Carl Court, or plan your party online at avparty.com.
It's the Gilchrist Farm Holiday Hoedown, December 8th and 9th. Catch the Holiday Horse and Rider Costume Parade on Saturday at 10 a.m. Your kids can play in the festive petting zoo with goats, pigs, bunnies, ducks, and chickens. There are pony rides, caroling wagon rides, handmade holiday food, crafts, festive music, and so much more. It's holiday magic at Gilchrist Farm, just a short ride up OK Canyon. The Holiday Hoedown at Gilchrist Farm, December 8th and 9th from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. Details at gilchristfarm.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Your hometown station.
KHTS AM 1220 and the new 98.1 FM.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina Radio Show. I'm your host, Alex Urbina, hanging out with Alan Tunick. Today we're talking about how to improve your relationships. Did anything stick for you in that last segment?
Oh, so much of that stuck for me.
Okay, so what were some of those bullet points that kind of...
You know, for me, I think the biggest aha that I I get, and I have to remind myself about all the time, is this is about me. It's not about that person. It's not about that group. It's about me being responsible for me, how I feel, how I choose to show up, how I choose to communicate, how I choose not to be the victim, all of those things. So as I'm, hearing what you're saying and realizing nobody, I care about me, and I want to show up to be a certain type of person, and I cannot and will not be responsible for somebody else. I think that's that old behavior, the old belief. He would, he would remember if he cared. Just hearing the words that say, you cannot blame someone. Caring has nothing to do with it. It's not landing.
And so the responsible version is, who do I need to be and what do I need to say or do differently so that he actually hears me?
Right.
Now that's where the power plays at, where most of us don't own that perspective. What we own is, I'm so sick and tired of you not listening to me because,
right.
And going to the victim version and blaming.
Yeah.
But what would it look like if you took responsibility for what you can control, and that's what you're saying it, how you're saying it, when you're saying it, and
how I am being
and
in that
and who you're being
conversation.
when you're saying it.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you that in my relationships, when I want something to be heard, it's landing, but only because I've taken responsibility to make sure that you've heard me, all the way to the point where, and you've probably heard me say this several times. Sometimes when I'm communicating someone, I'll say to them, all right, now tell me what you heard me say.
I hear you say that all the time. And what's fascinating to me is, what did you hear me say? And some people will not be able to say it. It's like it didn't land.
Well, but me asking you, what did you hear me say, is me taking responsibility for my own communication and making sure that it's landing.
Yeah.
Because we all live in the assumption that when I'm speaking, you're actually listening to me.
Right. Hearing it, remembering it.
Yeah. Writing it down.
Yeah.
Following up. So for me, I've already, and it's weird, I'm not going to say this, I'm going to say it anyways, but I've kind of trained people how to be in relationship with me.
Well, yeah.
Only by me taking responsibility for my own communication and my follow-up. I'll even follow up with somebody. I'll even put in my calendar, hey, follow up with them, let them know, remind them.
I believe that people treat us the way we set it up. We train people to treat us a certain way.
That's right, exactly. And then you have to also throw in the possibility of, let's have a little bit of grace too and give people some grace, because sometimes we have high expectations of people and we expect people to remember everything.
Right.
We forget that.
And we don't.
Exactly. And we have high expectations of people to keep their word and to, do what they're, do what they said they were going to do and all those kinds of things. And we forget that, we're all on this journey of trying to figure out who we are and learn some of those leadership distinctions, like being my word and following through with what I say I was going to do and all those kinds of things. And so, one of the things that helps me relax in my life more and not be so stressed is not be attached to expecting people to operate at a higher level. Because if I did, I would drive myself nuts. I'd be stressed all the time. So I have to have a little bit of compassion for that. Some people are not going to keep their word and they're not going to follow through, and it's just part of their growth process.
So, okay, but there's an assumption now that they will grow.
Well, I don't know.
Because I'm struggling a little bit with that with my grandson, and that he doesn't always keep his word. And I don't know whether my feelings get hurt or I get pissed off, or I really don't know, because I love him so much and I want to continue to have an open, loving relationship with him. I don't know how to respond when he does stuff like that.
Okay, great. Are you open for some coaching?
Oh, please, begging for it.
All right. So what if you didn't respond? Because the question is like, or you're stuck in, I don't know how to respond. What if you didn't respond, or you don't need to respond? And what if you saw it as an opportunity to teach? Hey, honey, I noticed that this is like the third time that you said you were going to do something and you haven't done that. And then you said to him, is that important to you to have your word be kept and for people to trust you in your life?
What if he says no?
Okay. So then in our relationship, you wouldn't want me to trust you, because what's happening is a little bit at a time, I'm creating some stories that you're untrustworthy. And the times that you're going to need me and the times that you're going to need some support, I might not necessarily be there for you, because I don't trust that you're going to either give it back or follow through with it or whatever it is. I want you to start sitting down with him and explaining to him like you're going to teach him a lesson.
Okay.
Like you're his spiritual teacher, you're his wisdom,
spiritual advisor,
you're his wisdom coach, you're his grandma.
Yeah.
And that's what grandma and grandpas do, is they sit down because their moms and dads are too busy to spend that quality time with them and teach them those life lessons.
But what if he already thinks he's an expert? You know
But you have evidence of your experience that doesn't back him being an expert.
Correct.
So don't be afraid to get in there and go, honey, I hear what you're saying, but on June 27th and on August 3rd, these are the things that you didn't do. They don't match. You might have to confront him.
Yeah.
Is he a millennial? Is he a millennial?
He's 18.
Okay.
Is that a millennial?
Well,
no, he's on the
Generation I.
Yeah.
So the millennials and the Generations I, they're know-it-alls already.
Oh, I mean,
they're experts at their life.
Yes.
So they just need someone to lovingly challenge them that is a little bit more smarter, a little more wiser.
Why do I have such a hard time doing that, challenging him?
I think because it's a challenge for you.
It is a challenge.
Yeah. And you're like, and it's very easy to go.
It's like I'm walking on eggshells.
You go to, I shouldn't have to be challenged. I'm the grandma. And some parents go, I shouldn't have to be questioned.
Because I'm the parent.
I'm the parent. And sometimes we forget, but parent, that's your job, is to teach them those things. Your job is to confront them, because they're gathering information from their world, from their society, from their generation, and they're coming to you going, I know it all.
Oh, yeah, and I'm totally, he actually
I
said,
got it all figured out.
Totally self-reflective. That's what I do all day long. And I never have a comeback for that.
Yeah.
Like I'm going, really?
Yeah, because he's sharp. He's clever.
Oh, he's very, very clever.
But he's your challenge.
But he is my challenge.
Yeah,
he's everybody's challenge.
Yeah, so take the challenge on and say, I'm gonna battle with this kid because I know
because I love him.
And I have the experience and the wisdom to see what the road he's going down.
Yeah.
And
he will have an answer for everything.
Yeah, I get it.
And I know, based on, just the little that I'm learning about myself, is, number one, he is not in a coachable space because he's not open to all possibilities, even though he will tell you he is.
Right.
So if someone is not open to hearing, and if someone is not, coachable, because they think they know it all already, you still proceed with your wisdom.
Well, yeah, if they're interacting with you,
yeah,
there's things you can still challenge them on. You're not challenging to be right. You're just challenging for him to think about it, and then you're planting little seeds.
Yeah.
And every time he walks away from grandma's, he's going, man, you know what? Like, she did say some things that really got me. Like, you know what I mean?
And
eventually what happens after the third time, the seventh time, the 12th time, he slowly starts listening to you.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, but it would be amazing
for him
on the back end if you actually put that effort in and that kind of work to get to that stage. Right now, it's the challenge.
Yeah.
So you'd have to accept a challenge, be willing to go through that.
I think
challenge.
that's the key, is I would have to accept the challenge.
Yeah.
Because I know, I mean, this is a kid who has a wonderful heart, great kid, but boy, I mean, he's a tough cookie. And I don't feel confident and schooled enough in my own self to start to teach him or offer opportunities.
Why not? How many more years do you have on this guy?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah,
you got so much.
I've got.
You got so much.
Almost 50 years on him.
You got so much more wisdom than him.
No.
Why are you afraid?
I need to bring.
Get in.
I'll tell you why I'm afraid.
I'm
afraid he'll get mad at me and won't love me anymore and will go away. I know it. As I say it, and even as I think it, it's stupid.
Yeah, that's what the ego wants you to believe. However,
correct.
But your spirit's going, no,
I need to do this.
Yeah, and your spirit's saying, oh, he'll get over it. Your grandma, you got to pass.
Oh yeah.
And what's cool about kids is that when you're challenging them and calling them on some things from a loving place, they never really get mad at you and walk away.
Well,
it's usually when you're coming from a meanful, hurtful place is where they'll do that.
And I obviously, I called him. I was not taking care, but I was watching the dogs and stuff like that. And he graduated from Crass, which is an audio engineering school, and he's always been challenged in his life with completing things. And so we were all just like, for a year, we're like hanging out with crossed fingers going, come on, Ost, you can do it, you can do it. Well, he did complete it. And now he just has a portion of an internship, and then he's, blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking through Facebook, and I see a few of the people in his group a picture on their Facebook page. I didn't read it completely, and I didn't see Austin. So I went to this place in my head that said, oh my gosh, he didn't graduate. He didn't complete it. He just told us he did. And so I called him down and I said, need to know, personally, I need to know, did you actually complete the program? And he goes, yeah. And I showed him the picture, and he goes, no, those were the kids that got special accommodations or whatever. And as I looked at it, so he went back upstairs, and I felt horrible. And I thought, gosh, she's going to be mad at me. And it preyed on me for like 24 hours. So I went back over there the next day, and I said, Ost, are you mad at me? I said, I don't want want you to be mad at me. He goes, mad at you about what? And I went, what I said the other morning. He goes, no, but that's where I go. Don't be mad at me. And if he was for a little while, what's the big deal?
Right. And I think even on your end, you can even go in there and clean that up just from owning it. Just from taking responsibility, whether he was mad at you or not, or went over his head.
He felt disrespected.
Is that what he told you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So there was still a negative feeling from it.
Yeah. He goes, I wasn't mad. At the moment, I felt disrespected. But he claims he had let it go and he wasn't mad.
But did you own it? Did you go in there and say, I need to come clean and let you know that this was my own insecurities. These were my own doubts, my own fears.
Absolutely. I said, this is all on me, Ost.
Okay.
This is all on me. I said, I got scared. And that's where it came from.
And I appreciate you being honest and having this dialogue with me. And I appreciate the relationship that we can come back and clean stuff up.
Yeah, that I didn't say, but should have.
Those are the little seeds that you're planting. So that when he walks away, he goes, oh, if I ever have a disagreement with my grandma, or I want to call her on something, I can do it without her getting mad, because then we can always
clean it up.
Because we have this relationship that we can always come clean it up.
Yeah.
So you remember, you're always teaching people how to be in relationship. You're training them how to be in a particular way with you.
Yeah.
So by planting those seeds, you could set yourself up with that kind of structure.
Yeah. My goal for 2019, I started to think about, what do I want to see happen in 2019 for me? And what?
Well, that's not going to happen.
Why?
Well, you can't just say, I would like to see something happen.
Well, no, what I'm going to work on in 2019.
What you're going to create.
What I'm going to create.
You know you're that powerful, right?
No, I don't, but I'm working on it. That's one of the things that's on the list.
You're so powerful, you can create whatever you want. So let's start focusing on, for 2019, I'm excited because I get to create what?
I'm really excited because I get to create this person of strength and personal validation. I get to create this person that is not so overwhelmed by the thought of what other people are thinking.
I love that. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. You know, that is like, to me, that is like the best gift I can give myself. Because I think I've spent a lot of my life being the person that I believe other people want me to be.
Yeah,
I don't want. It's exhausting, and I don't want to do it anymore.
It is exhausting, and there's no peace in there.
No,
there's no freedom.
No.
So let's start reframing our framework, right? Our mindset into, I get to do what I want to do. Be mindful of how it's going to affect other people, but not to the point where I'm walking on eggshells,
right?
Or I'm afraid to hurt someone's feelings.
Something. Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's where freedom comes from. So you're on a journey in a pursuit to create personal freedom.
And in that, to tie it back to what we're talking about, I believe that my relationships will be substantially better and more satisfying.
Absolutely, they will. But they're not going to fall out of the sky. You're going to have to work on yourself.
Yes.
That's why when I talked about the different bullet points of how to improve your relationship,
it's all about,
we go back to, you have to be willing to improve yourself. And most of us, when we're unconscious, we want better relationships, but we want it unconsciously. We want the other person to do the work. Yeah. And the way it works is that I got to decide that if it's to be, it's up to me. I get to improve myself in the relationship. And by doing so, the relationship will just naturally progress and it'll improve.
Right.
And then if I do it really well, it might inspire my partner to go, man, I really love where we're going with this.
Yeah.
And once they say that out loud, then I get to go, great, buddy.
Yeah.
Then now,
jump on board.
Yeah, I would love for you now to partner with me, and let's do this together. How can I enroll my partner into wanting for them to improve themselves while I'm improving myself, so we can both kind of push each other up that ladder a little bit?
Yeah, partners.
Yeah, partnership.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what's the takeaway for all this self-improving your relationship?
The takeaway for me goes back to being responsible for how I show up and how I communicate, being as present as I possibly can be, not relying on other people to get the work done. That if it's work that I see needs to be done personally, I'm going to take charge of it. I'm going to own it, and I'm going to do it.
And what about the stories?
And I am not going to make up stories. I'm such a good storyteller, though.
I'll tell you what. When we come back from the break, let's talk a little bit about stories. We'll close up the show
with storytelling.
With storytelling. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina radio show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.
Santa Clarita, bedbugs are taking over our city. They've invaded our homes, our businesses, and most importantly, our sleep. If you have suspicious bites that appear nightly, or have a bug that you need ID'd, your best option is to make one call to All Pro. We offer a 100% guarantee that your bedbug issues will be solved with heat in one treatment. No need to tent or spray your house with chemicals. Heat is all you need. Call 661-298-2200 or text me a bug picture to 661-645-0540. It's time to sleep tight again, SCV.
Mission Valley Bank puts the community in community banking. They strive to be your most trusted bank. Mission Valley Bank is happy to sponsor KHTS Holiday Music. Happy holidays!
KHTS. Now FM, 98.1 FM and AM 1220, your hometown station.
And welcome back to the Alex Urbina radio show. Oh, the stories we make up that sabotage
the tales that we weave,
our relationships and our life. So just in case you're joining us, we've been talking about how to improve the quality of your relationship. And if you decide to have a better relationship, you have to be willing to own it and be the person who creates it and improves it with the intention to better yourself, to make some changes within yourself, so that when you make those changes within yourself, they show up in the relationship and better the relationship. But one of the things we talked about is, and in case you haven't really been listening to our show, we talk about stories that we all make up. They're assumptions and they're beliefs that we create when we're young and throughout our lives that aren't necessarily real. So here's an example. When you're young and you're proud of yourself and you want to share your accomplishment with your dad or your mom, and you're going around the house to try to find them to validate you in your pursuit, you're so excited and you finally find them and you go, Mom, Dad, look what I did. And they go, not right now, give me a minute. In that moment, you can't hear, not right now, give me a minute. What you hear is, I'm not good enough, or my mom and dad don't care about me. What happens is your mind makes up these stories, these limiting beliefs about ourselves that aren't necessarily real, but you don't know that they're not real because you're too young and you're too unaware and you just haven't developed yet emotionally. And so we live and we grow up as young adults, teenagers, with these stories that aren't real. And through your awakening, and when you wake up and have a conscious awakening and you start to look at some of those beliefs and stories, and you can identify which ones aren't real, or even which ones we created to save us in those moments. So, for example, you might have made up a story when you were 5 or 6 or 9 or 12 that helped you cope with something that you were dealing with. But once you were out of the scenario, once you were out of whatever the trauma was, that story doesn't serve you anymore. So you were supposed to let it go.
But we don't.
And you don't. You carry them with you.
Drag them with us.
So imagine you having thousands of limiting beliefs and stories that aren't necessarily real, but they affect how you see the world and how you interpret and the perceptions that you make up in your current life that can be sabotaging your growth, your potential, and you're totally unaware that you have these limiting beliefs or these stories, and you can't find them or identify them until you have somebody help you see them.
Yeah.
And point them out and go, look at this, look at. And then you
story.
Go, oh my God.
Oh God. Yeah. And
so,
I have one of those that you pointed out today, that he does care. I've brought with me this limiting belief that if you don't remember, then you don't care. And that's a story. That is absolutely a story I've carried with me all my life, because I remember feeling, well, they told me to wait. They must not care.
Yeah.
Brought it with me all these years.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to tell myself in this moment, Thanksgiving night, we had all my family over. I had my nieces and my nephews and my brother-in-laws, and we were all there having a good time, having fun, playing games. And I created a bunch of games to play, and we did like brackets, so I'd put their names up. And I, for whatever reason, because I'm getting old, I forgot one of my relatives. See, one of my relatives' names. I just drew a blank. It was my brother-in-law.
Oh God.
And I went to go and I did one of these eyeballs and I looked at him and he smiled and he threw his name at me and I wrote it up there and I went, I'm so sorry, man. And in that moment, I had to tell myself to not make up a story about me not caring about him and vice versa. So it's very easy to make up a story like, dude, I'm your brother-in-law. We've been brother-in-laws for 5-10 years or whatever it is, and it's very easy to make up a story that, dude, you don't even remember my name. Did you understand what I'm saying? So I'm giving you a real life example of how you can easily make up a story. And that doesn't mean I don't care about you or I don't love you. It could just mean that I'm getting old and I have brain farts every once in a while, right?
Absolutely.
So those are the things that we do in life, is that we make up stories and we try to complete something to make this, that has us make sense of it.
We think we're trying to make sense out of it.
That's right.
But actually, in reality, we're not.
Unless you go to the
person
person and just ask them.
Yeah.
And most of us won't do that. Like, imagine my brother-in-law going, dude, you forgot my name. Do you not love me or care about me?
Yeah.
And I would be like, absolutely not. And then I would have to own up to, dude, I did a blank.
Yeah.
You know? But those are the things, you know, that we have to really look at and be aware that we're story makers, because we make up the reality for our own lives in the stories. And so sometimes we're just not conscious and aware, and in order to make sense of something, the mind has to complete it. We can't just go, all right, I'm going to put that on the shelf and come back later and see if there's more evidence to prove the story.
Right.
We just
and that's
go. We
definitely
just.
me.
We just.
I want to close
yeah,
it up.
Yeah. You just don't care about
however
me.
it looks.
And then
close it
and then
up.
sometimes we look for evidence to keep proving that. See,
I told you.
You don't care about me.
Yeah. Because you just did that.
Yeah. I asked you to wash my car. You said you would do it. It's 4 times I've already asked you now. See, you don't love me.
Yeah.
We go looking for evidence to prove that those stories are real. That's how crazy sometimes the mind and the ego can be.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, we can keep peeling the onion back as far back as possible. But I just wanted to take a moment and thank you for being in the hot seat with me, getting
Always.
in there and learning and growing and opening up all these possibilities.
It's an honor.
To figure out how to better ourselves, how to improve ourselves, especially in the relationships with the people that we say that we love the most. That's all we have for today. The good news is we're here live every Friday at noon. Please follow me on Facebook at Coach Alex Urbina. I'm also on Instagram and YouTube. Thanks for joining us on the Alex Urbina Radio Show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.